Hi everyone, welcome to tonight's movie review. I have watched and now I am reviewing 13 Assassins. Now 13 Assassins is a movie from 2010 and it's 2 hours and 21 minutes. It's a Japanese film directed by Takashi Miike and it is a remake of Eiichi Kuro's 1963 13 Assassins. So it's the same name. Uh, it is in Japanese and that's how I watched it. I watched it with English subtitles just because that's my preferred way of watching foreign films. It's with English subtitles. That way I can hear the actors' voices and what the intent and emotion that they're portraying sounds like. Um, Not that the dubbed actors don't do the same. I just like hearing the original way it was meant to sound. Um, Now this is a remake, but it is also very similar in tone to movies like Seven Samurai and Magnificent Seven. Um, And where those movies had an emphasis on like honor, this has an emphasis on blind obedience, being honor bound, and the pride of man, which I think it's something somewhere between all of those films. Um, I think it does a fair representation of what the samurai would call Bushido, which was their warrior's way, their code of honor. And the characters, while they do an excellent job of portraying um, how they lived their life as warriors in a time of peace and now being forced into becoming assassins to overthrow an evil governor. Yeah, their backstories aren't deeply explored, not exploded. There's explosions in the movie, by the way, but they're not deeply explored. This is not a bad thing. Actually, I found that refreshing. Uh, it left an air of mystery to these 13 assassins, where enough is told to you that you can understand and follow why they're going through with these actions. And it leaves a lot more room for the actual story that we're observing, we're being witness to, take place and develop without it slowing down by giving us a background of somebody's childhood or whatnot. I will say though, I will say this: um, the villain in the movie, his name is Matsudaira Noritsugu, and it's played by Goro Nagaki. He is one of the few that has actually a lot of flashbacks to his story at the beginning of the movie, and the reason for this is so that we, the audience, can be shown what his evils are and why they're trying to stop him. Uh, and I think that was the only time that they actually used that many flashbacks, but they were done so well that you won't notice. And honestly, after you see what this guy does to people and what kind of a man he is and what his honor is, then you're like, okay, he's got to go down. And like the characters, the CGI is actually very bare bones. There isn't a lot of CGI here. Um, Also a good thing. There's one memorable scene towards the end of the film that you're like, oh, okay, I can see why they needed to use CGI in there, and there was a fair use. Everything else was very tactile, from glassware to large set pieces. It all feels real and like it belongs there. It's not out of place in 19th century Japan. The details to the skirmishes are visceral. I mean, when these guys go into combat and start cutting, slicing, crunching, you feel it. Um, Fights here are a dirty affair. There's no clean, there's stuff like no fancy baton swirling, just men fighting for their lives. And even though they're fighting for their lives, they're still everybody, even the bad guys, are standing firm for their beliefs or oaths of servitude, as the samurai were known to do. Regardless, and these actors, they really did a superb job of showing these emotions through minimal, what is the words being exchanged between them, but just by their gestures and their way they stand and the way they represent themselves in the film. And it really does make the action sequences feel a lot more real and gives you a sense of pride in what they're doing, even as an spectator. with the spotlight being on the acting and the storytelling, that leaves very little room for music, and it's scarily used in this film. I know there's one scene with horses, and they play a beautiful sound of drums and violin, and maybe an harp in the back. And that's the only actual one I can remember. I know there's a few others in there, but it's used so lightly and so scarcely that it accentuates the scenes that have that importance coming into it. So it helps you transition from a scene to a battle, or a very large battle, or a small skirmish. And the camera work on top of that, even though there's crazy fighting everywhere, you barely get any shaky camera or any poor use of effects. So the choreography and the action sequences are on point. You really don't get any of that. I don't want to shake my camera of that thing where they do this and you can't see what's going on. No, it's one man, fight, and you can see everything. I mean, it's a pleasure for the eyes being able to see the fight scenes from that perspective. Speaking of perspective, there is one point where you get to see a point of view of a dying man watching the fighting go. And man, it really made me feel kind of sick. Because the poor man's head is being held through like a fence. He's holding his head on a fence and he's watching his friends die. But again, I didn't give you any spoilers because I didn't tell you the man, what side he fought for, or anything of it. But look out for that scene. It was really fun watching this. Overall, I would say the story was beautiful. The selfless sacrifice and honor-bound samurais portraying the code of Bushido and the way of the warrior was refreshing, as opposed to like Western movies where they always do it just for revenge or pure malice. No, I'm being overcritical. I'm kidding about the pure malice. It is very heavy though. I would say the movie, halfway through, its heaviness kind of weighed in on me, and I was like, man, I really need a break from this. Maybe a 2-part session. Like if you want to watch this movie, 2 hours here, 1 hour there, and the other hour the next day. I would recommend this if you like period pieces from Japan. This is probably a really good one. I think it is. I give this movie a 3.5 fingers. It's almost 4. I highly recommend it. If you like action sequences, you like to see men fight for pride and glory, this is one of them. At least in my mind, it's right below Glory. You guys know Glory, the Denzel Washington, Matthew Broderick movie, so that's this over there. Right there. It's a good movie. If you enjoy Glory, you might enjoy this one. Wow, this review ran long. Alright guys, I'll see you next time. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like my review. Leave a comment. Let me know if you've seen this movie or if you're going to go see it. Thanks guys.